No. It's 18. 9:20. I don't know. Anyway, let's go back to where we left off about building the sukkah. So we're discussing that the walls have to come down within 3 tefachim of the ground. Up, it doesn't matter as long as you have a wall of 10 tefachim. But even when you have a wall of 10 tefachim, okay, if you have a wall that's 10 tefachim, okay, this is the wall, and it's 10 tefachim high, and the schach starts up here. Okay, let's see, 2 feet above, like we learned last night. Now, the schach, though, has to be within 9 inches, that if the wall, when the wall keeps going up, the schach would at least be within 9 inches of the wall. Because if, let's say, the wall keeps going up, but the schach is a foot to 2 feet away, it doesn't go all the way to the end, so then again, that wall cannot be counted as a wall. Because the schach has to come to the wall, or within 9 inches, which is called lavud. So there, when the schach could be on top of the wall, as long as the wall goes all the way down to the ground. The schach could be on top of the wall, as long as if the wall would keep going up, it would hit the... Now, there's a lot of dinim in sukkah that make a sukkah kosher, and the reason why you have to learn these dinim is because people are in situations that it doesn't necessarily work. For instance, okay, let's say this is the wall of the house. Okay, you're building the sukkah in your backyard. This is the wall of the house. Now, outside the house, there is an overhang. In your backyard, many doors have an overhang. Or there's on top, there's a second floor that protrudes. So now the question is, can this wall be counted as one of the walls of the sukkah? Now obviously, you can't sit under it because it's not a kosher, it's cement or whatever, it's not a kosher schach. But the question is, can this wall be used as one of the walls of the sukkah if there's an overhang? So again, there's a lot of what's called halacha l'meshem. The halacha l'meshem is it's called defen akuma. Defen akuma literally means a crooked wall, which means that if this is less than 4 amas, meaning the overhang is less than 6 feet, this wall could be counted as one of the walls of the sukkah. If it's more than 6 feet, then this wall cannot be counted as a wall of the sukkah. Now, a lot of times we have this, if you want to make a sukkah, we were talking about this yesterday, you want to make a sukkah on your porch, okay? You live on the 2nd, 3rd floor of an apartment building, and you have a porch that goes outside, but a lot of times, there's a neighbor that has a balcony over yours, or you have a balcony that comes out. So we learned if you have 7 tefachim by 7 tefachim, then you could build a sukkah there technically. But the question is, can the house wall be counted as one of the walls? And the answer is, if the overhang on top and the next floor up, and 2 floors up, whatever, is less than daled amas, less than 6 feet, then it's called a crooked wall, means like the wall moves halachically. And therefore, the wall goes where the end of this overhang is, and then this could be counted as a wall of the sukkah.
But not sitting under it.
You can't sit under it because this is not kosher schach. This is...
7 tefachim like extra without the...
You need 7 tefachim beyond the overhang to make it a kosher sukkah. But what this halacha teaches us is that this wall could be counted, and trust me, there's a lot of sukkahs and a lot of people's houses that have to rely on this concept of defen akuma because what?
Just schach, it was a thin schach, you already made it. Can you later, if you find these big leaves, can you, if you can't put it on top, can you just hang it underneath it?
Can you what? Hang it underneath it?
Hang it underneath the other schach, just hang it like...
But also a schach.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we'll learn about... Shh. What?
It doesn't have to rest on anything. Would it be hanging there right underneath?
How's it hanging?
With a string.
No. You can't be maimed the schach with a string. No, you can't do that. because the string is makabel tumah. No, bottom line, you can't do
It
that.
can be connected. One of the four qualifications is that the tzchach can't be tied to the steel, because it makes it.
First of all, there are times you could b'di'evet tie the schach down to the sukkah. Because b'di'evet, if you maimed the schach with davar makabel tumah, b'di'evet is kosher. No, he's saying it's holding up just.
I understand, but I'm saying tying down the schach on top of a sukkah with a zip tie or something is not holding up the schach. It's making sure that the wind or a cat doesn't take it with it.
So that's okay. The issue with the sukkah mobiles are taka. So over there, b'chlal, there's an interesting machlekes about sukkah mobiles. Is a sukkah mobile good even while it's traveling?
Oh, even like.
Even when you're driving in the street, can somebody sit in the sukkah, the guys, and eat? Or what? Legally, a lot of things are being done that they're not allowed to be done. Anyway, no, so the question is, so some poskim hold, but the halacha is that you could, but there are poskim that say even a movable sukkah, because the Gemara talks about a sukkah on top of a camel. The Gemara talks about a sukkah, okay, and the Gemara in Sukkah talks about a sukkah on top of a camel, because the camel had a big area, so they would build a sukkah and they would sit on the camel and sit in the sukkah. I told you once, I mentioned this every year, somebody once came, it happened to be a very interesting thing, it was in Long Beach, it happened to be Dr. Dower's car. He had this is going back close to 40 years ago. Okay, he had, and this is also very practical, the car had a sunroof. The Cadillac had a sunroof. So another guy in Long Beach, wanted to buy his car only if it would be halachically possible to make a sukkah out of the car. Otherwise he wouldn't buy the car, but he would buy the car. I remember all the people involved, it was very interesting. So I went there to measure it, but he couldn't do it because even with Daifen Akume, it just wasn't working.
How about opening the two doors if it's not the pickup truck that it's too high and the doors are low?
But the problem is, then you have an issue if the floor is more than 3 tvachim off the ground.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The pickup
That's another, but I'm saying even when the doors are closed, anyway, it's not a practical thing. In fact, a guy called me today from wherever, and he asked me, you know these big shipping containers? Okay? So, if you take off the roof of it, they're not very sturdy. So if you want to take off the roof and make it hold, you have to put metal beams across like a cross, or length and width. You have to put a long pole. So the guy called me, he wanted to know if you can make a sukkah from that thing, even though the metal poles are going to hold up the frame of the container, but then they're going to put, as we'll learn, we're going to put a piece of wood on top of the metal, and then they're going to put the schach on top of that. So it could be done. I mean, I say, how wide can the metal be? But it's possible to make a sukkah like that in a container, because it holds up in the wind, in a regular wind, and it's... Anyway, so coming back here. So now let's discuss a little bit about the schach. What's the definition of schach? Schach has to be something that grows from the ground, and not mekabel tumah, and not a keli. Okay? It has to be something that grows from the ground, and not mekabel tumah, and not a keli. Well, if it's a keli, it's mekabel tumah. So, for instance, halacha speaks about mats. And Mishchonach also says it depends. They used to have mats in the olden times that people used to sit on or lay on. Like a hamor, whatever you call it. So those mats are not kosher for schach. Why? Because they're made to sit on. They're made to lay on. So it's made as a keli. A chair is a keli. A ladder is a keli. In the Gemara in Shechanah talks about you want to put a ladder on top of the sukkah and then hold up the schach with the ladder. Put the schach on top of the ladder. So Shechanah says it's no good because the ladder is a keli. It's a utensil. You climb walls with it. So therefore, chatchili, you can't make put a ladder on top of a schach. So those mats were halachically not allowed to be used. Today, most mats, there's the mat story in the sukkah, most mats today are not made l'shchiva. Most of them, even what you buy in Home Depot or whatever, the regular one, not the ones with the hechsher. They're made actually as blinds, to block the sun. That's not a keli, because nothing is going into it, nothing's sitting on it, you don't put anything on it. It's vertical, so nothing's happening to it. The only problem is that, the mats, right, the sukkah mats. So the mats that have thin pieces of wood, and then they have something holding it together. Sometimes it's metal, sometimes it's plastic, sometimes it's string. Okay? Now the question is that something which is holding up the schach, and these things are makabel tumah, so if, not plastic, but metal is makabel tumah, if it's a string, depending on how it's woven, could be makabel tumah, could become tameh. So the question is that ma'imid the schach or not? So halachically, the practical aspect of it is like this. If you just lay down the mat on top of the schach, and there's nothing holding up the schach except the walls of the sukkah, that might be a problem. Or if you put the sukkah mat directly on top of metal, that could be a problem. But if you have boards underneath the mat, bamboo or just pieces of 2x4s or even 1x2s, whatever, you put boards across, and then the schach is laying on that, then what's holding up the schach is not those pieces in between the boards, in between the mat. That's just to keep it holding together, but it's not holding it up. Holding it up is the board of the sukkah, and that's not a problem.
If you were to undo the wires, it would all fall out.
I understand, but what's holding up the schach now on the sukkah?
I mean, everything.
No.
The wires.
No, what's holding up the schach is the wood underneath it. What's keeping it, by the way, if you would put it on top of the boards and then cut the wire, what's going to happen? They're not going to fall
A lot of
down.
them are straws.
They're not going to fall down though.
Cut all the wires. If you were to remove all the wires,
They're not going to fall down because it's being held up by the board.
There's no way.
Huh?
there's no way.
Let's say you
I'm not talking about blowing away. It's not my minute though. That's the whole concept. So if the mats are made with hashkocha, you have the hashkocha for sure, there's no problem. But even the other ways, if you have something else holding up the schach, those thin metals or string or whatever is not holding up the schach.
They're bamboo straw. It's not bamboo stick. It's a bamboo straw. It's very thin and.
I know what they are.
small. You need to have a bamboo stick.
What are you doing? The mats themselves or what's holding the mats?
The mats themselves.
No.
They're made of bamboo straw, thin. So if you were to cut all the wires, even if you were to have bamboo under it, it would all spill out.
It wouldn't. If you have...
Which way? The boards are going one way and the
Exactly.
You know how
It's
many-
yours
you
with
know how
the
many-
thing
you know
on.
how many bamboos you're gonna need to keep all those straws
No.
out?
If you have one mat, one board would hold it up.
Each bamboo straw is not this long. A lot of them are just.
The mats are 4 feet.
It's 72 inches long.
Right, but
8
they're.
feet.
8 feet. Whatever, 8 feet.
5, whatever.
Huh?
The straws are 8 feet.
8 by 8.
No. So if you have 2x4, 1x2s holding it up, even if you got them, it will fly away in the wind. Okay, yeah, but by the way, the din of flying away in the wind is the din of the walls, not the schach. That's not a problem.
In that case, there's no difference between that and some little pieces of branches and put on it. That could get blown away with that.
Yeah, that's this. I mentioned many times. There was one year in New York. There was one year in New York. Sukkot in New York. Here the problem is in the sukkah it's too hot. Here in the sukkah the problem is it's too hot. In New York, or when I grew up in Chicago, it was freezing. And New York has a lot of rain. Punkt rains the whole sukkah. So there was one year It was a bacher. It didn't have a sukkah. It was a bacher in yeshiva. It was a massive wind the first night of Sukkot with rain. Half the sukkahs in Crown Heights, and they don't build sukkahs like the canvas was. I'm talking about wood ones. You know, wood sukkahs. Plywood, whatever. Half the sukkahs in Crown Heights fell down. The first night Yom Tov. And then everybody was piling into those few, the sukkahs that were still up. Everybody was piling in there to eat because it went down. Now that's not a normal wind. That's not called Ruach Mitzuyah. It's called Ruach Sheina Mitzuyah. But the walls have to hold up in a normal average wind of the place where you are. But again, we learned yesterday, if you make it on Rishus Rabbim, then you need Rishus to do it there. B'diavad, yes. B'diavad, it's good. But the halacha says you can't make a bracha on it. You can sit there. Public streets are not belongs to individuals. You can't do whatever you want. You can't do whatever you want in the street.
Should be different than a sidewalk.
No.
It's meant to be laid down.
But it's not, you can't start ruining the beach because it's yours. So the city gives you permission to use it for what they want you to use it.
So you drive through the desert, on the side of the highway, you can't stop, and who's gonna ask permission?
In those cases, the place is Hefka. Beach is a place where people go to. It's not so simple. Does Hefka belong to everybody or to nobody?
But people are allowed to lay down their blankets and
Yeah. No, there's a famous machlekes in Poskim. Is Hefker belong to everybody or does Hefker belong to nobody? Meaning like this. When something is Hefker, free for all, is it automatic? Let's say I'm the only person in the world. Okay? And there's something Hefker. Is it automatically mine? Or do we say it belongs to everybody? And therefore, because it belongs to everybody, when I pick it up, it becomes mine. But in order for me to acquire it, for it to become mine, I have to make a kinyan to acquire it. If I don't, it's not mine. If you say Hefker belongs to everybody, and if I'm the only everybody, right. So the Rebbe once spoke, it's a famous machlekes in Poskim, but the Rebbe once spoke, see a Rashi, at the beginning of Vayikra. Rashi says, Adam ki Yaakov. Why does it say Adam and not Ish? Because it wants to teach us, just like by Adam Rishon, he didn't bring from Gezel. He didn't bring stolen things. Shakar Yishalai, everything was his. Right? So therefore, the din is, Adam teaches us he can't bring a carbon from stolen goods. So the Rebbe said, what's Rashi saying? Shakal Yishalai. Rashi says everything was Adam Rishon's. Now the question is, what he didn't acquire, why should it be his? It's not his. If he acquires it, it becomes yours. If you don't acquire it, it's not yours. Yet Rashi says in Pshat at least. Shakol ha'yishaloi. So the Rebbe explains, because Rashi in Pshat holds that Hefker belongs to everybody. And because there's no everybody, automatically everything was acquired by Adam. Okay.